Well, I mean, those are all pretty good answers, and, you know, they're about as good as the answers that we have. We know that these existed. The English do describe them as being used for religious purposes or dancing rituals. The Englishmen love talking about Powhatan dancing, but we're not very different from the Plains Indians that we often think of. You're not moving with the animals around here. You're staying. If you are interested in where the cooking is done, it's going to be right over there. You're not going to be cooking mostly over an open fire. A lot of Powhatan cooking is actually done with embers on the fire. You're going to take a pot or something and put the hot embers around there and have it.
How did you get here then if you didn't use the dugout canoe? The ferry. The ferry? I don't know what that is. Just kidding.
The Virginia Company starts advertising for adventurers of person, which means we'd like you to either invest or invest your life. To find 145 people who are willing to invest their person. 145 people, about 105 of them are going to be colonists, the rest are sailors. They're going to be right before winter because of crops, and what else is important? What's not over here? Well, there is snow here, but what won't they be able to bring with them on the ships? What will they have to have time to make? Houses. That's a problem for another group of English settlers that come over about 13 years after Jamestown is founded. They're called the Pilgrims. They arrive in the middle of in the middle of November, and they
period, but very typical. As Nick has already mentioned to you, what I'm going to be talking to you about today, seeing as February is African American History Month. A little bit different trip over a few years later. Now, 1619 is a very pivotal year for the colony. It sees the end of martial law, the establishment of the first representative government in the Virginia colony. It sees a major change in gears for the Virginia Company, a move away from contract labor and a move towards permanent settlement. They sent the first large number of women from England in 1619. For our purposes today, it's also, of course, when the first Africans, at least the first documented Africans, show up in the colony. For a long time, it was not known anything other than these folks showed up. 20 and a ship. We just don't have the space, particularly early on. Most of the provisions for the trip, cargo destined for the colony, those are going to be typically transported in barrels as they're a little easier to move around and roll them. And don't have to open them as frequently. Generally, close at the beginning of the sleep at once. As the entire crew should never be sleeping at once. Somebody needs to be running the ship all the time. After work, after sleep, you typically only have half the bunk. Sharing your bunk with another sailor, but somebody on the opposite ship, so you'll never be in there at the same time. The sailor can be using all the way out of the bow.
I'm gonna pick one guy and put everything right. Just keep one guy in charge. He can appoint other people to advise him if he wants, but what he says goes. So they changed the charter of the colony to a single governor. That governor, this one is a man named Thomas Gates. He has a hard time getting to the colony. He's shipwrecked on Bermuda for about 10 months before he gets here. And he's replaced by another man by the name of Thomas. He's detailed in a document called The Laws Divine, Moral, and Martial. We also know the most about what the fort looked like physically. It's described by another man who arrived with the governor. He keeps very, very meticulous notes on where everything was and what it looked like. Now, one of the places that he describes So, if you are a colonist here at Jamestown,
or rather some of the tools you might use for woodworking. And I understand you've already learned a little bit about how the first Africans got here in 1619. Is that correct? So that'll tie in with what we're going to talk about as well. But I want to back up mentally first to 1607 when these folks first arrived. When they first arrived, of course, they're working for the Virginia Company, as I'm sure Nick has pointed out to you. And what are they looking for, besides silver and gold? Yeah, I'm 1607. That's part of it, yeah.
yeah.